Hello, this is Steve Geishert with another Parts Now Tech Tip. What I want to talk about today is when I tell the machine that I need to print, but it doesn't seem to print. It keeps asking for paper to be put on my tray number 1 here. Now in this particular scenario, I commandeered this printer here from my department because they're really not using it in another one. But I notice when I start looking through it, they've got it set up for legal here. So gee, I've done this before in other machines where I just take the legal out and I set up the tray guide. It's a little bit different. So I'm going to set up, here's my media. I put it in the tray and I'm going to snug up the tray guide and yep, that looks nice and tight and everything's good there. And in fact, when I pull back the paper here and take a look, yep, tray guide does say letter inside there. So it is set up correctly. So everything is set up correctly. I put it inside here and all set to go. However, when I tell it to print the simple Word document, my display tells me, whoa, it's saying load media on tray 1. So it's load letter tray 1. What's going on? Why I want to do this? I've done this before in other machines. I pull out the tray, I put in the media, and I snug up the tray, and I put it in, and it had been legal, and I put in letter, and it prints. Why is it not printing now? Good question. And let's talk about that because this is something that's pretty easy to fix, but something that can really kind of, screw you up if you don't know what you're doing. First off, I want to point out, we have a P2055 machine here. P2055 tends to be a lower end machine. Lower end machines don't physically detect the size of the media. On a business class machine for the HPs, as I adjust my tray guide here, there's little fingers on the outside that change their position. And depending upon their position, it's going to tell switches inside here what size media I have in the tray. On my lower end machines here, it doesn't know. There are no little fingers on the side of the cassette tray here. So whatever I program into the menus up here is what it assumes is going to be in this tray. So again, lower end machines. So if we're talking about, the 4-digit numbers, it's going to be your 3000, 2000, 1000 level machines. I have to tell it through the menus what size media I have in the tray because it doesn't know. It doesn't physically check. On up, you're good. 4, 5, 6, 7,000 machines. Or the newer models with the M, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, oftentimes you need to tell it through the display. Some of the 5s you do, some of the 5s you don't. The M500 series, some M500s you do, and some M500s you don't, depending because it splits business class there in lower end. But does it have the fingers on the side of the tray? If it doesn't have those fingers, I'm going to have to tell it. So I need to go into the menu here, and I need to find my tray setup. In my tray setup, I'm going to say, hey, look at that, it's set for legal. I'm going to change this to letter. And when I do that, it suddenly starts printing. Great. Now, what if it doesn't start printing at that point? And my computer's still looking at me and saying, Steve, I can't print. And the printer's saying, Steve, tray 1 load letter. What in the heck is going on? Well, there's a couple different things that might be going on yet. Okay, I've got the right size programmed now. But do I have the right type? What do I mean by type? Well, type could be plain paper like I've got in here. And it could be that it was set up for, say, labels or envelopes. Well, you probably wouldn't do envelopes through my cassette tray, through my tray 1 probably, but maybe labels, maybe letterhead, maybe pre-punch paper, maybe colored paper, any number of choices in there. What type is it set up for? And since I put it in plain paper, I probably want it set up for plain paper type. Let's say it had letterhead in here before. And it's programmed for letterhead in here. And I send a simple Word document over to the machine and said use plain paper. Well, I don't want to print a standard simple Word document on letterhead, so it's trying to do you a favor and say you don't want to print this on letterhead. See, you kind of get the idea. It has to match. So if I want my plain paper through my driver to print on plain paper in the machine, I need to not only find the right size in my tray setup, but also the right type. So when I go into type and I find plain paper, at that point in time, if my driver is set up for plain paper and letter size, it should print. And we're good. If it's not doing that at that point, gee, I've got letter size and I've got plain paper set up at this point. Why isn't it printing? My next thought is, let me check my driver. What am I telling it for size? What am I telling it for type? Because if by chance I have it set for a different type, they don't match, they're not going to want to print. So there's 4 things in the mix there I need to watch out for. So next time you get a machine, you set it up. Gee, I changed the guides and it's not printing. Remember those 4 different things we need to check? I need to set my menu settings for my media size, media type, to make sure that it's going to match with my driver for my media size and my media type. And once you get those all set, you'll be printing away just like you should be. All right. This has been Steve Geichert with another Parts Now Tech Tip.